Good evening once again, brethren. Tonight we're going to go over a study called Does the 144,000 Get Persecuted by the Sunday Law? Recently we've been involved in a few studies, and it just seems clear to us that the Sunday Law placement is confusing to many of us brethren. There's a couple of views that we want to go over tonight and discuss, because on some serious studies that we've done recently in prayer and requesting of the Lord to understand this subject, we thought we'd put it together for you to see that there really is a misconception on the placement of the Sunday Law, unfortunately, among some of us present truth believers. So we put this study together tonight to go over it, and hopefully you'll be blessed. Please pause the video and claim the promise of John 16:13, and the Lord will be faithful to guide you into all truth. And, when we do that, we ask the Lord to be a truth detector. And He says that He will give us the Spirit of truth. And that means that we're going to be able to decide, clearly what is truth and what is not truth. And that's a beautiful promise from the Lord. So let's get started now. So we have 3 inspired counsels for our study. And these you can read at your leisure, but basically we've used these counsels in this study. And the weight of evidence, of course, and then the 2 other ones are mark the words. We have to make sure that when we study anything, the Word tells us that we must mark each and every word. Otherwise, like it says, we won't have a clear conception of the truth. We may not never comprehend the truth. So we have to be very careful to pay attention to what each word means. Okay, so we'll examine 2 views. The first one is the longtime Davidian SDA view that the Sunday Law goes into effect almost immediately after Ezekiel 9. And then that view is very common amongst us today. And the second view is that the Sunday Law goes into effect during or after the kingdom is set up in the Holy Land. And of course, we know that to be the premillennial kingdom. So these 2 views we're going to closely examine and see, which one is telling the truth of the matter. Okay, on our first view, this has arrived because basically when we look at the fundamental belief track of our Davidian fundamental beliefs, we see a timeline. Of course, we're well familiar with it as a timeline, and it tells us things that will happen consecutively or subsequently after each other. And of course, number 4 is the Ezekiel 9 purification. Number 5 is the right after that, the letting loose of the winds and Michael standing up. Number 6 is the letting loose of the winds to anticipate a worldwide decree enforced throughout Babylon that no one may buy or sell. Number 7, the time of Jacob's trouble for the 144,000. So this is basically where the first view comes from, and they read that and they see it in a more of a literal sense, more of a, I hate to say it, but it's a more shallow-looking view of what these words say. And we'll prove that by going through this study, but we just wanted to give you the basis for where this first view comes from, and here it is. It's reading this and taking it more of a less focused view on exactly what these words say. And of course, The first view is based very much powerfully, and rightly so, because the four winds we're taught in the Present Truth message is indicative of the Sunday law. So they take Testimonies for the Church, Volume 5, and they bring this to the forefront, because as we know, and yours truly learned, that the four winds are indicative of the Sunday law. Once they are let loose, the Sunday law comes into place. Well, all this is true, but it's just a question of timing. When will this come true? And that's what we're endeavoring to find out. So they have a couple, actually they've got more, but we showed a couple of main ones that they use for supporting their view. That the Sunday law takes place immediately after Ezekiel 9, or thereabouts, very, very quickly right after Ezekiel 9. And this first reference is found 1947, Timely Greetings 2, number 14, page 17. You can read that at your leisure, but the headline, or the main part that we want to emphasize, is they are persecuted by the dragon immediately after the earth swallows up the flood. So here we find a very go-to reference that they use on the first view to show, see, right after Ezekiel 9, the Sunday law is put in place, and it goes after the 144,000 with this Sunday law. Here's another reference found 1930 in Shepherd's Rod 1, page 152. As soon as the separation is finished and Satan has lost out with his deceptive scheme, the church finds herself in a great conflict with the enemy. Of course, Revelation 12:17 is quoted. And in the bottom he says, the war against the woman is the blue law. So again, it seems to say, right after the separation is done, then the blue law goes into effect, and that there's a war, and that war against the saints is the blue law of the Sunday law. Okay, as we go through this study, I want to bring out two things that are understood and should be understood with the commonness of both views, and that is, number one, Jacob's time of trouble comes after Ezekiel 9. Number two, the Sunday law comes after Ezekiel 9. So both the first view and the second view, which we're about to show you, they have this commonality with both of them. That, yes, Jacob's time of trouble does come after Ezekiel 9, and the Sunday law comes after Ezekiel 9. So they both agree with that. It's just the timing of the Sunday law that the two views have a disagreement with. And so that is the main issue of this study. We're going to see which one is the more sure word of prophecy. Okay, so let's now look at the second view. And we want to revert back to the the fundamental belief track, and that number 6 point. It says, the angels letting loose the four winds to blow over the four corners of the earth does not anticipate a world war, but rather a worldwide decree enforced throughout Babylon by the image beast. We highlighted that because that's going to be very key for us, brethren. Does not anticipate a world war, but rather a worldwide decree enforced throughout Babylon by the image beast, and that no one may buy or sell save he who worships the image. Again, that's found in Fundamental Tract, page 13. We also noticed that this word anticipate is very key as well. It means regard as probable, expect, or predict. So we see that number 6 is saying that the letting loose of the winds is predicting not a war, world war, but a worldwide decree enforced throughout Babylon. So this is the prediction, and that's the point of number 6. So what does the anticipate? What is going to anticipate? Well, we want to make this emphasis really clear. It anticipates a worldwide decree enforced throughout Babylon by the image beast. The time when the Sunday law is enforced worldwide. So this is key, brethren, to knowing the second view and understanding it. Let's take a look at our very well-known harvest chart. We're going to take our highlighter here and show some of the main points. The message came in 1929, and then, of course, the marking of the saints here. And, of course, you've got the slain, Ezekiel 9, right here. And then you have the Church Federation, which comes after Ezekiel 9. And another thing I want to point out is you see this little tan-colored road path here. That's meaning that these events are on a path, and they're following a certain road into the ultimate end of the world, or the end of the time that we are learning about here. So, let's go back to here, Church Federation. Then after that, on the path, comes the beast and false prophet. And then you'll notice here, determined to deceive the world by miracles and laws. So we see establishment here of the Sunday law. Okay, this is when it begins. And then, of course, down here we have the union of the church and state. This is where the woman rides on the whole scarlet covered beast, which is the whole world's religious system. So again, let's go over that harvest chart timeline. The message came in 1929. The saints are sealed from the broad message. Ezekiel 9, the churches federate. The false prophet and two-horned beast join together for the Sunday law. And the woman, the false religion, worship Sunday law, goes global with worldwide governments, union of church and state worldwide. So this is very clear because this is our chart timeline that we must compare. And one thing that we will remember is that God is not a author of confusion. There's harmonious things all throughout the message. It's just that we've got to search it out. We've got to find it. And once we do that, we'll be in harmony with the timeline. So what do we come up with so far? Well, we've come up with the fact that the first view is confused. And the reason is because the first view cannot be right, for it would show the 144,000 traveling on their way home to the kingdom having to go through the worldwide Sunday law before the kingdom. Doesn't make any sense, brethren. The second view of the FB Fundamental Beliefs Tract and Chart shows the harmonious timeline, and that is number 1, Ezekiel 9, number 2, Jacob's time of trouble for the saints on the way home, number 3, the Church Federation, number 4, the Sunday law by the USA, the false prophet, two-horned beast, and number 5, the worldwide Sunday law enforced throughout Babylon. So here we see that both the fundamental tract and the chart are in perfect harmony, brethren, with the timeline. And this is why it's so beautiful when we take the full view of the message and we see how everything harmonizes. And we don't short-sight ourselves by not looking at each word or believing handed-down theories and so forth without closely looking at it and saying, does this make sense? Or is this close reasoning and logical thinking? And so we have to be very, very studious, and the Lord will be faithful. So our answer to our original question is no. The 144,000 do not suffer Sunday law persecution before or after the kingdom. And of course, we have a couple references that show this clearly. This is one in 1943 by Answer, Volume 2, page 16. And you can read that at your leisure, but it says the dragon will be angry with the woman, servants of God, and result will war against the remnant. And who are the remnant? The second fruits. Okay, so he's not going to war against the first fruits after the earth swallows the flood. It's very key to remember. This is just one of them. We didn't have all the quotes put in this study, but there's quite a few, many others that should show the same truth. And of course, we have another one here. Stirred to fury over her purification, the dragon will make war with the remnant of her seed. Against her personally, though, he will not war, because her communicants, the 144,000, the first fruits, Revelation 7, 3-8, and 14 verse 4, those who go first into the kingdom stand with the Lamb, the King, on Mount Zion, Revelation 14:1, his palace grounds. This powerful reference can be found 1942, tract 12, page 44. So again, we see here that against her personally, against 144,000, he cannot war. Okay, so that means that there's not going to be any Sunday law persecution against 144,000. Why? Because they're going to be safe with the Lamb in the kingdom. Yes, they're going to go out and do their missionary work, but all of that is going to be the time where in the loud cry they're going to be working with the Lord's power. And you know, the Spirit prophecy speaks about that, where swords will fall down as straw and all these different things, because the Lord is with the servants of God, and they can't be persecuted. Now, the second fruits, we understand, will some of them will get into some difficulties, but not the first fruits. Okay, brethren, so this concludes our study for today, and we hope you've been blessed and get a little bit more clarity that the timeline in the fundamental belief track is very, very clear, that the Sunday law will not take place until either the development period of time when the saints are building the kingdom, or right after that. We don't know for sure exactly when the Sunday law takes place in the United States first, but it seems to be in that period of time. It's definitely not in the time where the 144,000 are on the way to the kingdom. In other words, Jacob's time of trouble is not the Sunday law persecution, as some teach. So thank you for joining us on this study, and may you continue to study to show yourself approved, and be faithful and sigh and cry for the abominations that be done in the midst. Until next time, God bless.